some guys go, hey, this tastes like leather.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm like, I've never eaten leather. I don't know what leather's like.
Hey, welcome to Music and Cigars with John and JR. I'm JR.
I'm John.
And today we have our friend Jake Letzer. He is one of the guys that works here at the Mission, and he actually knows about cigars.
I know a little bit.
You know a lot. So today we're going to talk about cigars. So let's start out with what you smoking there, Jake.
I've got the Jaime Garcia Reserva Successor. This is the Habano. It comes in two wrappers. The torpedo shape that I have here is a Habano. There's a Toro that has Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper. This is a Nicaraguan Habano, and with Nicaraguan binder and filler. It's medium-bodied, very smooth. It's leathery, and it's got a little bit of pepper. I describe this type of cigar typically as like a chicken with a lot of seasoning on it.
Okay.
It's not real spicy.
Now,
but it's just heavily seasoned.
We were actually talking about that earlier about some of the tasting notes that people say that they taste, and I mean I taste smoke.
Yeah.
And I like
right.
it. But that chicken thing, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I notice that people can oftentimes pick out savoriness or sweetness, spiciness, boldness that really hits you in the mouth. You can oftentimes pick that out. You know,
I've always like equated cigars like when you listen to music.
Yeah.
You know, you got bass, mid, and treble.
Yep.
And like, is it real thick and rich? Is it somewhere in the middle, or is it real bright and like the
Sharp.
top end?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like to me, I think like a Connecticut would be like the bright, and something like this would be the dark and
Lots
heavy,
of
and
low
then there's
end.
the in between, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you go from like, because I can't taste like some guys go, hey, this tastes like leather. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm like, I've never eaten leather. I don't know what leather's like. So
Here, let me take my shoe off. Taste this, lick this.
For me, there are guys will do different things where you can taste if you have some chocolate and then have a cigar that has chocolate notes. Your brain will sort of associate those two things, and you'll be able to taste it, and maybe that from then on out. I really haven't done that, or that type of procedure. I may in the future, but it's more just I started picking up on things after working here for a while and smoking a lot of the different cigars. I just started to notice. I kind of know. It's like all of a sudden I'd pick up on something. I kind of see what they mean by that. Like
Right.
I've gotten chocolate notes in some cigars. Where it's like, I do actually understand that chocolate note.
Cool.
And for me, it just came by, I've smoked all of the cigars in the humidor that we have. I've smoked cigars that were in the humidor that we don't have, and cigars that we might bring into the humidor. So I just, over the time, smoking all these cigars, I just started to pick up on little nuances. There are people that can really pick up a whole bunch of flavors that I don't get myself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, even though I smoke a lot, I still consider myself a novice when it comes to different blends and because I mean, there's just so many cigar makers, and there's so many great cigars. I mean, their humidor here is it's amazing. They've got everything you could ever want, and I've been coming here a couple of years now, and I still haven't smoked every stick in there.
You smoked quite a few of them.
Yeah, I have smoked quite a few cigars. But I mean, it's just great to have guys like you who actually really, I mean, because I can ask Jake a question and say, hey, I want something like this today or something like that or whatever. And he'll be like, oh, you want this one? And it's, I mean, you've never steered me wrong.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
same here. So what you smoking?
So I'm smoking an Arturo Fuente Double Chateau. It's a Maduro. It tastes like smoke. And I like it. It's really good. It's kind of medium bodied. It's not too heavy. It's got a little bit of treble, some nice low end.
There you go.
Coming from a music end, so But that's what I'm smoking. What are you smoking, John?
I'm smoking the LFD Maduro. Is that right?
Yeah, that looks. I didn't see when you started that, but that looks like the maybe it was the Digger to start with.
Okay.
Yeah.
And 60 ring gauge.
Yeah.
Great cigar. I really like this cigar. It's got the nice thump on the bottom end.
Yeah.
Not much sizzle on top. A little bit of mid range. It's good.
Those are sort of almost. They're both Dominicans, but they're sort of polar opposites. That's a very smooth. Arturo Fuente is very smooth.
Yeah.
that is sort of, I would call that medium body, but it's just above mild. That Maduro wrapper gives it a little bit more oomph than the Connecticut. But
I've found that I love Dominican tobacco.
yeah.
And it's funny because, again, I mean, as I go, I'm learning all the different, types and areas and makers, manufacturers, whatever. But it always seems like when I grab a cigar, even if I don't know, like I didn't realize this was Dominican, I didn't read, I just thought, I'll try that. And I love it.
Yeah.
It's really good. Dominican tobacco. Yay team.
That's also Dominican tobacco. It's quite a bit heavier, though. They use Ligero leaf, which is the strongest leaf. There's two Ligero leaves in that one. So
would this one be like a what they would consider a dark and oily kind of cigar?
Yeah, and it's different than a lot of other Dominicans. It has a lot more oil and a lot more punch to it than most of the other Dominicans that we have in the humidor.
And that's why I like it.
Yeah.
So for our people out there that are watching who aren't cigar aficionados, can you explain a little bit? I know there's different leaves on the tobacco plant, and they're used for specific things. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, the leaves at the top are typically going to be the strongest leaf.
Okay.
So those are going to be the oily wrapper leaves.
And is it because they're more in direct sunlight?
Yes. And there's another leaf called the broadleaf, which gets a lot of sun. You smoke a lot of cigars with that broadleaf. Yeah, the enclave. The enclave broadleaf. That one, there's a lot of spice, a lot of flavor, a lot of savoriness to that leaf because it gets, it gets all that sun. There's a higher nicotine content.
Right.
As you go down, there's a slower burn, and it's a little bit lighter tobacco usually. The leaves at the bottom, the cigar companies typically don't use it
on the very bottom.
The sand leaf, yeah.
What do they call those?
The sand leaf or the dirt leaf, yeah. Those leaves typically aren't used.
And so the very top one is the Ligero, is that right?
Yeah. As you go down, it just gets a little bit lighter and less, it's quicker burn and less oily. Yeah.
But I always find that interesting that it's just like, because in my mind, it's like, well, it's a tobacco plant. You just take the thing and squish it up and wrap it,
Oh, yeah. It's actually, they're carefully blended. They place the leaves in different parts of different areas of the cigar. There's the filler leaf. There might be more than one type of filler leaf in there. Different origins from different locations.
And those are also cured differently, right?
Yeah. They're fermented differently. They're left to sit in warehouses for different amounts of times. Turned over at different amounts of times, and just rotates the tobacco to get different results. That's why you can have the same tobacco leaf with a different manufacturer and get a totally different flavor profile. One of the best things about smoking cigars, though, is the conversation around it.
Yes.
But it also, the main reason we're in this is for the conversation. So you get somebody an enjoyable cigar, they can sit down and relax.
Absolutely.
You commit to about an hour, hour and a half. Could be on that one 2-3 hours.
Right.
6 hours on that one.
Yeah. And you can just sit around and you share all kinds of stuff. And that is really the best part about it. That's what brings everybody into the cigar shop, because you can grab and go and sit and smoke by yourself. But the reason most people are here is because of the camaraderie, everybody getting to know each other.
It's true.
Enjoying the conversation over a cigar.
That's true. I mean, I like sitting on my back patio and smoking one by myself, and sometimes the wife will come out for a little while and then go back in or whatever. And that's fine. That's nice and relaxing, and that's great. But there's nothing like the camaraderie of smoking with guys like this and talking about, solving the world's problems. Talking about everything from kids to work to whatever.
Yeah, and then for us working here, we get to know you.
Right.
And then I know JR's palate actually pretty well.
Yeah, you do.
I know yours a little, pretty good too. But there's a lot of people that we can really, once we've gotten to know each other, I've seen what you smoke, seen what you like, had conversations about the different cigars that you smoke. We can pretty much, we can really recommend some pretty good things for you, and then it just makes the enjoyment all that much better.
I agree.
And you guys keep a good log of that too, because my father-in-law came in here last year to buy me some Christmas present gifts, and he didn't know what to buy me, so you guys pulled up my log and said,
we do
this
that
is what he
often,
buys most of. So he was able to get me something I like.
That's great.
Yeah, when when anybody is coming in for a gift, a lot of time if it's a wife or a family member or friend, sometimes they'll just they'll just try to pick something out, and then we'll say, does this person come in here? And oftentimes they do, and then we're able to look it up and say, he's gotten these, these seem to be his favorites. You should go with these ones, and then it's a great gift.
So let me, for the people that don't know cigars a lot, maybe the musician side of our group that don't know, so can you explain the difference between like a cheaper cigar that's not a long leaf, and then others that are basically chopped leftovers, right?
Yeah.
So explain the difference in that people could understand why a cigar might cost $3, and another one might cost $12, $20, something like that,
Well, there are, what you're referring to is premium cigars are long filler. So the leaf is actually, all of the leaves in the cigar are essentially the same length.
Right.
And then they're bunched up and then they're bunched up into a bundle, and then the wrapper is put on. There are other cigars where there are short filler or medium filler. Short filler cigars is more like cigarette tobacco, or in terms of consistency, or pipe tobacco consistency.
So they would basically get the leaves and chop them all up.
Yeah, a lot of the time it is could be sort of the trimmings that would go into a long filler cigar. We have a great short filler cigar in there by Drew Estate it's a part of the Liga Privada series called the Papas Fritas.
Okay.
That comes in a couple of different options. We have the one that uses tobacco from the Liga Privada number 9.
Oh, wow.
So that's it's short filler, and it's a small cigar. That cigar is really phenomenal because it has that great Liga Privada tobacco in it.
But isn't it harder to control the consistency of a cigar when it's not a long
Yeah,
filler,
it burns
correct?
a lot faster. Sometimes you can get
The ash falls off
Yeah, the ash
easier.
falls. It's a little bit more flaky. Yeah. You can you're more likely to have a canoe in it. One side burns a lot faster. And then you have medium filler cigars, which are I don't know if we actually have any of those in the humidor, but where it might be 2 or 3 length, leaves that are not, it's not chopped up,
Right.
but it's not one long filler. And then you have other ones that are homogenized tobacco leaf, and it's sort of, pressed together to form a leaf.
But they're all good cigars. I mean, you guys don't have any Swisher Sweets in there.
No, the only cigars that we have that are short filler in there are the Papas Fritas and then the Factory Smokes line, and that's a great line of cigars too by Drew
Actually,
Estate.
the Factory Smokes. I mean,
For
Drew
what
Estate
you're getting
cigar,
at, they're
My
about
dad
a
smokes
$5
them.
cigar.
That's what my dad smokes, and
it's
he loves them.
It's all high-end Drew Estate tobacco. It's just short filler.
Yeah.
It's just not long fill.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing about cigars is like everybody's palate's different.
Yep.
Yeah.
So some people could smoke, like my dad smokes a Factory Smokes. It's fine. He appreciates a long filler cigar and all that, but for his budget, it fits better to smoke those, and he likes them. So.
Oh, it can definitely get expensive.
Yeah. Now,
Yes.
the thing about the short fillers, they don't last quite as long. So depending on how long you wanted to relax, I mean, if you wanted to, it might, it's probably not half as long, but it's if you smoke a Toro long filler, Toro short filler, you're likely going to smoke through that short filler.
Right, so it's going to be 45 minutes instead of an hour and a half.
Maybe something like that, yeah.
So explain the difference too in the different sizes. You just brought up that. So you got everything from like the nubs or those style of cigars, whatever size that is, the shorty smokes, right? All the way to a Churchill and different ring gauges. But what's the most popular, from short to Churchill?
Well, the most popular size in our humidor is the Toro. That is probably most popular for most shops.
And how long is that?
And that is typically 6 inches. It could be a little bit longer. One of the things about this industry is nothing is really very standard. So the sizing between different brands and even different cigars within a brand can be a little bit different. Right. Sometimes
Well, it's because it's a hand-rolled product.
It's a handmade product, and they make the specifications just a little bit different. So a Toro is typically 6 inches, and it could be anywhere. It could be 50, but it's usually 52 to 54.
Okay.
So anywhere between 50 and 54 ring gauge. This would be considered a box press Toro. That's more of that's a double chateau. You could call that a Churchill a little bit. But so
It's basically a Churchill, a slightly smaller ring gauge. This is probably what, a 45 or
yeah, I think that might actually be a 48.
48? Okay.
Yeah.
See, I don't know.
I'd actually have to double check
Yeah.
that. But typically the most common sizes that you'll see are the Robusto, the Toro, the 6x60, and the Churchill. And they have different names within those. Then this one is a torpedo,
Which
and
is the torpedo shape.
the torpedo tip, and that sort of it gives it the cigar a little bit different flavor profile. It seems to concentrate some of the spiciness a little bit, and you get just a little bit more of the flavor.
And the burn profile is different too, right? With the bigger ring gauge, smaller ring gauge.
Yeah.
So to me, correct me if I'm wrong, like reason why I like a 60 ring gauge is it seems like it's a fuller draw, it's more tobacco, and it feels to me like it burns cooler.
That's exactly it. There is there's going to be more tobacco, in each truck because of the bigger ring gauge. So you're going to have the ember burns cooler because of the size of the cigar. With a smaller ring gauge cigar, there is more wrapper compared to the binder and filler in each draw. And it's not necessarily that significant, but it's a little bit more. And as you go with a bigger ring gauge, the amount of wrapper per draw goes down compared to the binder and filler.
Okay.
So the smaller ring gauges tend to be a little bit spicier. What the cigar offers, you're getting a little bit more of.
That's cool. Hey, there's a football game going on in here. I don't know if you can hear.
Yeah,
people.
it's rivalry week here, so we've got Tennessee Vanderbilt going on, and everybody's going pretty crazy. 17-7.
And that's one of the things that we love about this
Yeah.
place is, they allow us to do these little videos during business hours.
Yeah.
And I love that because you actually get to feel the vibe of what's going on here, and I just think it's so cool. So just to get back to that, so the name of a cigar, typically Corona, Toro, Robusto, I mean, that's really dealing with the size and not the ring gauge necessarily, right?
Well, the ring gauge and the length.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what would be a 60 by 6?
A lot of the time they just call it a 6x60, or you might call it a Gordo or a Toro Gordo. Sometimes Toro Gordo is maybe. I've also seen those in like a 56 to 58.
And then what would you call a 54 by 6 by 6?
Typically a Toro.
Toro. Okay.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
Fuente, I mean, because I've never heard Chateau, so that's just what they call it, is the Chateau.
That's what they call it. Yeah. And we actually, there are all kinds of unique sizes. There are, Figurado shape, which it has sort of a torpedo tip, and then a tapered end at the foot as well. We have a really unique size. It's a 6x60 in the Plasencia. They call it the Sixto. We have a natural wrap and a Maduro. And it's a box press hexagon.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of cool.
I haven't seen that. I meant to check that out.
Yeah, that's a really great one to smoke. One of my go-to cigars is the Plasencia Almafuerte. I like it in both the Maduro and the natural.
Plasencia's a good stage.
The natural is really my. If I just want to relax and sit down and I'm not working or doing anything, I'll oftentimes gravitate towards the Plasencia Almafuerte natural.
Excellent.
I smoke it in the Toro a lot, but if you haven't smoked the Sixto, it's definitely worth a try.
So we do this thing, you're stranded on a desert island for 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
Cruise ship's coming tomorrow. You're not
gonna
dying.
die.
You're not going to die. You get 3 cigars, 1 bottle. Bottle could be anything, and 1 album.
Okay. I would probably I'd want to start out with something a little bit more mild, and then maybe finish off with something else in the medium range. I sort of like to build up, but then at the end of the day, not have the strongest cigar. So I'd probably start out with the Perdomo 30th Anniversary Connecticut. I really love that cigar. It is a mild cigar, but it's got a lot of flavor to it. It's part of it's in their newest line. It's only available in 75 or 80 shops. We have it here. and it's really my favorite Connecticut wrapper in the humidor. It's got a really gorgeous Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper, Nicaraguan binder and filler, and that's part of their newest line that they just released earlier this year or later last year. It's
Great.
escaping me now, but I would definitely go with that one. And then for something a little bit bolder in the middle of the day, I would probably go with the AJ Fernandez San Latano Requiem Habano.
Great.
And that is
Love the San
only about
Latano.
an $11 cigar,
Yep.
just a little bit above $11. It's got a Habano wrapper, Nicaraguan binder and filler. It's just really phenomenal cigar. I always call it the most underrated cigar in the humidor. And then to finish off, I would do the Plasencia Almaforte Natural.
That's a great trio of
Yeah,
sticks.
and that's those are all Nicaraguan. I like all kinds of. I like tobacco from everywhere. I actually had a great cigar yesterday from South Africa.
Really?
Yeah, really unique. But I find that I typically, when I'm choosing cigars to smoke for myself, I oftentimes choose Nicaraguan.
Yeah.
And I don't, that's just the way my palate is.
All right, so that's three really good
Yeah.
sticks. What's your bottle? It can be anything.
Now for the bottle, I'm gonna modify it just slightly.
Okay.
Because if I'm gonna be really relaxing, I love bourbons, I love scotches, I even love wine. But if I'm gonna be really relaxing, what I want is a bottle of Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale.
All right.
I really love the Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale. It comes in a 4-pack. So I would substitute the one bigger
So a
bottle for
4-pack.
the 4-pack of Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale, and I would enjoy myself thoroughly.
So one record, one album.
Yes.
All right.
And it can be a greatest hits if it's just an artist that you like.
All right, this is going to be sort of weird, but because cigar smoking, I sort of associate that with my dad.
Okay.
I would go with the Queen Greatest Hits album, the red one.
Yeah.
Really?
The number one. I think that's the number one. My dad played that a lot when I was a kid, and I love that album. And I love all the songs on it. I can listen to it straight through.
That's great.
Can't go wrong with that.
Wow, man. Excellent choices. Very good. All right, Jake. So, what got you into smoking cigars?
It was my dad, and he didn't necessarily. I don't know if he even ever offered me a cigar to smoke with him. We have smoked cigars together, but when I was a kid, my dad liked smoking cigars, and so he'd smoke them out on the Outback, and I enjoyed it. I liked the smell of them, and a lot of the time on Saturdays, I'd be driving around with him, and he'd be running errands and doing different things. And there was a guy on named Cigar Dave.
Cigar Day.
Yeah, and he had a radio show that was syndicated. He lives in Florida, but the radio show was in different markets, and I just really liked listening to this Cigar Dave. And then when I was probably 18 or so, I hadn't heard him in a little while, and I just stumbled upon him again. And so around then, I would smoke cigars occasionally, but as this time went on, I kept going to the cigar shop more and more. It's sort of, I've always associated with my dad, but we'd go, we've gone every once in a while.
Yeah.
But it's just sort of a thing that I just sort of picked up. I realized probably about 12, 13 years ago now that it was just a great way for me to relax and get to know people a little bit better. I can go into a cigar shop and talk to people, or just sit by myself if I want, or get some work done. And I've just always gravitated towards it. And I really like I like a good cigar shop too, not just the. And I'll sit outside by myself sometimes and smoke a cigar to relax. But I do really like the.
Well,
the cigar.
one of the things I love about this place again is you can come in, and if you want to go back in the back and be by yourself, people will leave you alone. If you want to be involved with the conversation, you can sit down and immediately strike up a conversation. Man, Mark and Monty and Willie and Shannon, they just really have a great culture in this place. And hiring guys like you, I mean, I didn't meet you until you started working here. I think I met you the day before you started working here. You were just here.
Maybe,
we just struck up a conversation.
Yeah.
And man, I'm so glad you're here. I really am.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a strange. I had no idea I was going to start working here when I did, but it ended up being a great thing. It's been working here has really been about the best experience of my life.
That's really cool. It's really cool to hear that.
Yeah.
Great. Well, please go to our YouTube channel, Music and Cigars with John and JR. You're probably already here. But click like and subscribe. If you're ever in Spring Hill, Tennessee area, come see Jake at Mission Cigar and
You'll
Social.
probably bump into one of us, or all of us.
Yeah,
But if there's a game going on.
there you go. Anyway, we'll see you next time.
That's it. Thank you.
Hey, thanks again, Jake.
Oh, thank you.